7 years had passed since the Great Exile. The outer rim, once empty and cold, now buzzed with human activity. Where there had been only dead rocks and ice, there were now cities, farms, and factories. Engineer Chobin floated in zero gravity, working on the hull of humanity's greatest creation. The ship was so big that it took her 5 minutes to fly from one end to the other. It was not just a ship, it was a moving world complete with forests, lakes, and mountains. "How much longer until it is ready?" asked Captain Song-Yun, floating up beside her. Chobin checked her tools and looked at the massive engines. 2 more weeks, maybe 3. This is not like building a normal ship. We are building something that has never existed before. Song-Yun nodded. She understood. In the 7 years since leaving Coalition space, humans had not just survived, they had grown stronger. Much stronger. The first year had been hard. 40 billion people living in crowded ships looking for worlds where they could build new homes. Many humans had cried. Some had wanted to go back and beg the aliens to let them return. But Li Huan had kept them moving forward. "We do not beg," he had told them. "We build, and build they did. On the rocky world of New Terra, they built the first human city in the Outer Rim. It was not pretty at first, just metal buildings and plastic domes. But it was theirs. Dr. Nam Jin worked in his laboratory on New Terra, looking at samples of the void rot that Park Mira had managed to save. He had been Park Mira's student before the exile, and now he led the human research effort. "The plague is not behaving like we thought," he told his team. "It is too organized. Too smart. Diseases do not choose their targets this carefully." His assistant, a young woman named Li Su, looked up from her microscope. "What do you mean?" Namjin pointed to the data on his screen. "Look at this. The void rot always hits the most important buildings first. Government centers, power plants, communication arrays. A random disease would spread equally everywhere. This one attacks like it has a plan. You think someone is controlling it?" Li Su asked. "I think someone made it," Namjin said quietly, "and I think they are very smart." Meanwhile, in Coalition space, things were getting worse. Much worse. The void rot had spread to 50 more worlds. The great cities of the Valkyrie Empire were empty shells. The proud towers of the Crystalline Federation had crumbled to dust. Entire species were fleeing their homeworlds, looking for somewhere safe to hide. The Coalition Council met every day, but they had no answers. Without human scientists, their research was slow and confused. Without human engineers, their ships broke down faster than they could fix them. Without human farmers, food was becoming scarce. Ambassador Kim Tae sat in his small apartment on New Terra, listening to Coalition radio signals. The aliens did not know humans could still hear their communications, but human technology had improved greatly in 7 years. "The Valkyrie are asking for help again," he told Li Huan during their weekly meeting. Li Huan did not look up from his reports. "Let them ask. They are desperate, Huan. 3 more of their core worlds fell this week. They are talking about abandoning their home system." "Good," Li Huan said coldly. "Let them feel what we felt," Kim Tae sighed. "The plague is killing millions of innocent people, children who had nothing to do with our exile." Li Huan finally looked up. His eyes were hard as stone. "And where were those innocent people when we were thrown out? Did any of them speak up for us? Did any of them say that exiling humans was wrong?" Kim Tae had no answer for that. The truth was that most aliens had supported the exile. They had been happy to see humans go. Dr. Park Mira entered the room. She looked tired but excited. "I have news from Namjin's research team. They think they know what the void rot really is." "Tell me," Li Huan said. "It is not a disease," Park Mira said. "It is a weapon, a very old weapon, left behind by someone who lived in this galaxy long before any of us." Kim Tae leaned forward. "A weapon? How do you know?" "The pattern of attacks. The way it chooses targets. The way it leaves certain materials untouched. Namjin thinks it was designed to clear away organic life so something else could move in." Li Huan stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see human children playing in the streets of New Terra. They were laughing and running, happy despite everything their families had been through. "So the Coalition is fighting a war, and they do not even know it," he said. "That is right," Park Mira said. "And without our research, they will lose. The weapon is too advanced for them to understand." "Then they will lose," Li Huan said simply. Park Mira looked shocked. "Huan, this could destroy all life in the galaxy, including us. We are safe out here, Li Huan replied. The weapon only attacks established worlds. It ignores frontier settlements like ours. For now, Park Mira said. But what happens when it finishes with Coalition space? What happens when it comes looking for us? Li Huan turned back to her. Then we will be ready for it. We have new weapons, new ships, new technology. We are not the same humans who were thrown out 7 years ago. This was true. Isolation had changed humanity in ways no one had expected. Without alien oversight, human creativity had exploded. They built faster ships, stronger materials, and smarter computers. But there were other changes too. Strange changes. Engineer Chobin had started to notice them first. Sometimes, when she was working on a difficult problem, she could see the solution in her mind before she even started calculating. The other engineers called it intuition, but it felt like more than that. Captain Song Yan had experienced something similar during a test flight of their new stealth ships. She had known exactly where the enemy sensors would be looking, even though she had never seen that type of sensor before. It was like she could feel the electronic signals in the air around her. Dr. Nam Jin had the strangest experience of all. While studying the void rot samples, he had started to see patterns that were not visible to his instruments. Complex relationships between different parts of the weapon that only became clear when he stopped looking with his eyes and started looking with something else. They did not talk about these changes much. They were too busy building their new civilization. But the changes were happening to humans all across the outer rim. Perhaps it was the strange radiation from the ancient stars in this part of space. Perhaps it was the stress of exile forcing human evolution to speed up. Or perhaps it was something else entirely. Whatever the cause, humans were becoming something new, something different, something more than they had been before. In Coalition space, another world died. The beautiful ocean planet of Aquatica, home to the peaceful Mer people, turned to gray dust in a single day. The Coalition Council sent more fleets to investigate, but their ships arrived too late to save anyone. The Velkari ambassador sent another desperate message toward the outer rim, begging for human help. The message was broadcast on all frequencies, hoping that somewhere in the darkness humans were listening. Please, the message said, we know we wronged you. We know we made a terrible mistake. But innocent people are dying. If you can hear this, if you can help us, please respond. We will give you anything you want. Anything. On New Terra, Kim Tae heard the message and brought it to Li Huan. They are offering us everything, Kim Tae said. Full membership in the coalition, equal voting rights, reparations for the exile. Li Huan listened to the message 3 times, then he deleted it. We do not need their offers, he said. We have something better. What is that? Kim Tae asked. Li Huan smiled, but it was not a happy smile.
We have the knowledge that we can survive without them.
They taught us that lesson very well. Outside the window, the first of humanity's great fortress worlds was rising into the sky. It was a ship the size of a moon, powered by engines that bent space itself. On its hull, Chobin was installing weapons that could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. Humanity was no longer the weak species that had been thrown out of coalition space. They were becoming something new, something powerful, something that would not be pushed around ever again. And in the depths of space, the ancient weapon that the coalition called the Void Rot continued its slow, patient work. It had been waiting for millions of years, and it could wait a little longer. Soon the galaxy would be clean. Soon its creators could return home. But the weapon had not counted on one thing. It had not counted on humanity. And humanity, as the galaxy was about to learn, did not give up easily. 12 years had passed since the exile, and Captain Li Huan was no longer just a captain. He now commanded a fleet of 2,000 ships, each one more advanced than anything the coalition had ever built. He stood in the command center of his flagship, watching reports come in from across the galaxy. The news was always the same. More worlds were dying. More species were fleeing their homes. The coalition was falling apart. Sir, his communication officer said, we have another message from the Velkari Empire. They are offering to make you their supreme commander if you help them. Li Huan did not even look up from his reports. Tell them no. Sir, they are also offering to give us 10 star systems of our choice plus all their advanced technology. Still no. The officer looked confused. Sir, with respect, this is more than we ever had when we were part of the coalition. Why are we saying no? Li Huan finally looked at him. The years in the outer rim had changed Li Huan's appearance. His hair was gray now and his eyes seemed to glow with a strange inner light. Because they are not offering us equality, Li Huan said. They are begging us to save them. There is a difference. Dr. Park Mira entered the command center. She moved differently now, with a grace that seemed almost supernatural. Like many humans, the years in the outer rim had changed her in ways that were hard to explain. I have news from Namjin's research team, she said. They have made a breakthrough. What kind of breakthrough? Li Huan asked. They know what the void rot is preparing for, Park Mira replied, and it is worse than we thought. She activated the main display screen. It showed a map of the galaxy, with red dots marking all the worlds that had been consumed by the plague. The void rot is not random, Park Mira explained. Look at the pattern. It is clearing a path through space, removing all organic life from specific star systems. Li Huan studied the map. A path to where? To the galactic core, Park Mira said. Namjin thinks something is coming from outside the galaxy, something that needs these star systems to be empty when it arrives. What kind of something? Park Mira's face was grim. The original creators of the weapon? An intelligence so advanced that organic life is just an obstacle to them. They sent the void rot ahead of them, like a cleaning crew preparing a house for new owners. Li Huan felt a chill run down his spine. How long until they arrive? 3 years. Maybe less. The command center fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. When these beings arrived, they would not negotiate. They would not make deals. They would simply continue what the void rot had started, removing every trace of organic life from the galaxy. Captain Song Yan's voice came over the communication system. Commander Li Huan, we have visitors. What kind of visitors? Li Huan asked. Velkari ships, 5 of them flying a white flag. They say they have an official delegation that needs to speak with you urgently. Li Huan sighed. The Velkari had been sending more and more desperate messages lately. Their home system was under attack by the void rot, and their entire civilization was on the edge of collapse. Let them come aboard, he said, but keep our weapons ready. An hour later, the Velkari delegation was brought to the main conference room. Their leader was Ambassador Vel Karan, who had once been Kim Tae's friend during the old coalition days. Karan looked terrible. His blue skin was pale and his forearms shook with exhaustion. Li Huan, he said, thank you for seeing us. Speak quickly, Li Huan said. I have important work to do. Karen flinched at the cold tone. Our homeworld is dying. The void rot reached it yesterday. We have maybe days before our entire species is extinct. I am sorry to hear that, Li Huan said, but his voice showed no emotion. We need your help, Karen continued. We know humans have developed new technologies. We know you have found ways to fight the plague that we cannot understand. And why should we help you? Li Huan asked. Karan looked shocked by the question. Because we are allies. Because we have a history together. Li Huan laughed, but there was no humor in it. Allies, is that what you call voting to throw us out of our homes? Is that what you call stealing our research and forcing us into exile? We made a mistake, Karen said desperately. A terrible mistake. We were afraid and we acted badly. But surely you cannot let an entire species die because of our error in judgment. Dr. Park Mira leaned forward. Where were these noble feelings 12 years ago? Where was this concern for innocent lives when you were forcing human children to leave their homes? We were wrong, Karan said again. We admit it. We are here to beg for forgiveness. Li Huan stood up. Forgiveness is not something you can beg for. It is something you earn. Then tell us how to earn it, Karen said. Tell us what you want. Li Huan was quiet for a long moment. Around the table, the other Velkari delegates waited with desperate hope in their eyes. Finally, Li Huan spoke. I want you to understand what you did to us. You did not just exile us from our homes. You taught us that we could not trust anyone except ourselves. You showed us that when times get hard, even our oldest friends will abandon us. But we want to make up for that, Karan said. How? Li Huan asked. How do you make up for betraying someone's trust? How do you give back the security that comes from believing your friends will stand by you? Karan had no answer. Li Huan continued. You want our help because you are desperate. But what happens after we save you? What happens when the next crisis comes and humans seem like a convenient target again? It would not happen again, Karen promised. You said that before, Park Mira reminded him. You promised humans would always be welcome in coalition space. Right up until the moment you voted to throw us out. Kim Tae, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. There is something else you need to understand. We are not the same humans you exiled 12 years ago. We have changed. We have grown stronger. We have learned to survive without you. What do you mean? Karan asked. Kim Tae gestured toward the window where the human fleet could be seen floating in space. The ships were beautiful and terrible, built with technology that seemed almost magical. We mean that we do not need the coalition anymore, Kim Tae said. We do not need your trade, your protection, or your approval. We have built our own civilization, and it is better than anything we had before. Engineer Cho Bin entered the room, carrying a small device in her hands. She placed it on the table and activated it. The device projected a holographic image of the galaxy, showing the spread of the void rot. This is what we know, Cho Bin said. The plague is controlled by an intelligence from outside our galaxy. It is preparing the way for an invasion. When that invasion comes, every organic species in the galaxy will be destroyed. Karan stared at the projection. How do you know this? Because we have spent 12 years studying it, Cho Bin replied. While you were busy blaming each other and fighting over resources, we were learning. We know how the weapon works. We know how to fight it. Then you can stop it? Karan asked hopefully. We can try, Cho Bin said, but it will require sacrifices. It will require courage, and it will require unity among all organic species. Li Huan looked directly at Karan. The question is, are you ready for that kind of unity? Are you ready to follow human leadership, even when our methods seem strange or dangerous? Karan hesitated. Li Huan could see the struggle in his eyes. The Velkari had always considered themselves superior to humans. The idea of following human orders was almost unthinkable. I need to discuss this with my government, Karan said finally. No, Li Huan said firmly. You decide now. Either you trust us completely, or you leave and face the invasion alone. The room was silent for several minutes. Karan looked at his fellow delegates, but they could not help him. This was a decision that would determine the fate of their entire species. Finally, Karan nodded. We accept human leadership. Completely and without reservation. Li Huan studied his face carefully. Understand this, if we help you, it will not be because we have forgiven you. It will be because we choose to be better than you were to us. I understand, Karan said quietly. And understand this too, Li Huan continued. Things will never go back to the way they were. Humans will never again be the junior partners in any alliance. We will lead and you will follow. That is the price of our help. Karan nodded again, though Li Huan could see how much it hurt him to do so. Li Huan turned to his officers. Contact all human fleets. Tell them to prepare for war. We are going back to coalition space. Sir, Captain Song Yan said. Are you sure about this? We could stay safe out here and let the galaxy burn. Li Huan looked out at the stars. Yes, we could. But then we would be no better than they were. We help them not because they deserve it, but because it is the right thing to do. He paused, then added quietly, and because when this is over, we want them to remember who saved them. 15 years after the exile, the impossible happened. Ships began appearing in coalition space that moved like ghosts and fought like gods. The first time Captain Song Yan's stealth fleet materialized above the dying world of Vega Prime, the coalition defenders thought they were hallucinating. Human ships that could phase in and out of normal space were beyond anything in their understanding. This is Captain Song Yan of the Human Liberation Fleet, she announced on all frequencies. We are here to evacuate civilian populations. All military ships stand down immediately. The Crystalline Federation commander responded with confusion and fear. Human ships? That is impossible. Humans were exiled 15 years ago. We got better. Song Yan replied simply. On the surface of Vega Prime, millions of crystal beings were dying as the void rot consumed their cities. Song Yan's ships began beaming up survivors faster than the coalition had thought possible. Human technology had advanced far beyond their wildest dreams. But the real shock came 3 hours later, when ships the size of moons began emerging from hyperspace. Li Huan's command ship, the New Terra, was no longer just a vehicle. It was a mobile world, complete with forests, oceans, and cities. The alien commanders who saw it could barely believe their eyes. Attention, all coalition forces, Li Huan's voice boomed across the star system. This is Commander Li Huan of the Human Alliance. We are taking control of evacuation operations. Any ship that interferes will be destroyed. The coalition ships tried to protest, but their words died in their throats when they saw what human weapons could do. A single shot from the New Terra's main cannon vaporized an asteroid the size of a city. The message was clear: do not test us. Dr. Nam Jin worked frantically in his laboratory aboard the New Terra. The strange changes that had been happening to humans for years were now impossible to ignore. He could see patterns in space itself, read the flow of energy through quantum fields, and understand alien technology just by looking at it. The architects will be here soon, he told Li Huan during their daily briefing. I can feel them approaching through subspace. They are massive beyond imagination. How massive? Li Huan asked. Namjin closed his eyes and reached out with senses that had not existed 15 years ago. Each ship is the size of a star system. They are not just machines. They are artificial worlds populated by billions of synthetic beings. Li Huan felt a chill despite the warm air in the command center. How many ships? 12 that I can detect. Probably more behind them. Engineer Cho Bin looked up from her workstation. Our weapons can destroy normal ships easily, but these architects sound too big to fight directly. Then we do not fight them directly, Li Huan said. We fight smarter. The evacuation of coalition worlds continued for weeks. Human ships appeared and disappeared like spirits, always one step ahead of the void rot. They saved billions of lives, but they saved them on human terms. Ambassador Kim Tae, now serving as humanity's chief diplomat, met with desperate coalition leaders on the neutral station of Haven Point. The alien delegates looked older and more broken than Kim Tae remembered. We need to discuss the future, Kim Tae told them. When this crisis is over, things will be different. The Velkari High Council member Vel Drak spoke first. We accept that humans will want reparations for the exile. Name your price, Kim Tae shook his head. This is not about money. This is about structure. The old coalition system failed because it was based on fear and weakness. We will not make that mistake again. What do you propose? Asked the Crystalline Federation representative. A new government, Kim Tae replied. One where decisions are made based on merit and contribution, not on how long a species has been in space. Humans will have permanent veto power over all major decisions. The alien delegates looked uncomfortable. They had never imagined humans demanding such control. You are asking us to give up our sovereignty, Veldrak said. No, Kim Tae corrected. We are asking you to earn it back. The old system proved that you cannot be trusted with important decisions. You threw away your best allies because you were afraid. You ignored a galactic threat because it was easier to blame someone else. The meeting was interrupted by alarms. Everyone rushed to the observation deck where they could see space itself beginning to twist and bend. The architects had arrived. The first ship emerged from folded space like a nightmare made real. It was a geometric construct of impossible size, covered in crystalline structures that pulsed with alien energy. As it moved, reality seemed to bend around it. More ships followed. 12 massive constructs, each one a masterpiece of synthetic engineering. They moved with purpose and intelligence, heading directly for the galactic core. They are beautiful, whispered Dr. Park Mira, who had been watching from the New Terra's observation lounge. They are death, Li Huan replied grimly. The architects immediately began their work. Instead of using the slow void rot plague, they simply absorbed entire star systems into their hulls. Planets, stars, and space stations vanished into their crystalline structures, converted into pure computational matrix. Coalition fleets tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless. Energy beams and missiles simply disappeared when they touched the architect hulls. The aliens' most advanced technology was like throwing rocks at a hurricane. We need to evacuate the core systems, Kim Tae urged during an emergency meeting. Get as many people out as possible before the architects reach them. No, Li Huan said firmly. We fight. How? Demanded Veldrak. Our weapons cannot even scratch them. Li Huan smiled, and there was something frightening in his expression. Because we are not using normal weapons. Dr. Nam Jin had been working on the problem for days. His enhanced senses allowed him to study the architect ships in ways that normal instruments could not. He could perceive the quantum structures that held them together, the energy patterns that powered them. and the data streams that controlled them. They are not just machines, he explained to the Human Leadership Council. They are quantum computers the size of solar systems. Their hulls are not made of matter as we understand it. They are made of organized information. How do we fight information? Asked Chobin. Namjin's eyes gleamed with a strange light. We give them information they cannot process. We introduce chaos into their perfect order. The plan was insane. It required a human consciousness to link directly with the architect quantum network. The process would probably destroy whoever attempted it, but it was their only chance. I will do it. Li Huan volunteered immediately. No, said Park Mira. You are needed to lead the fleet. I will go. My research makes me the logical choice, Namjin argued. My engineering knowledge is essential, Chobin insisted. Kim Tai listened to the argument with growing amazement. These were the same humans who had been thrown out of coalition space as refugees and troublemakers. Now they were fighting over who would sacrifice themselves to save the galaxy. In the end, they decided that all four would make the attempt together. Human consciousness had been changed by their years in the Outer Rim. They had developed a kind of mental link that allowed them to share thoughts and experiences. Perhaps working together, they could survive the interface with the architect network. The final battle took place in the Nexus system, the heart of the old coalition government. The architects had converted 3-star systems already, and were moving toward the core worlds where billions of refugees waited for rescue. Human ships engaged the nearest architect, construct with weapons that bent reality itself. Instead of trying to destroy the massive ship, they created quantum tunnels that led directly to its central processing core. Li Huan, Park Mira, Namjin, and Chobin entered the tunnels in a specially designed ship that existed partially outside normal spacetime. As they approached the architect core, reality became strange and fluid around them. I can feel their thoughts, Namjin said as they penetrated deeper into the construct. They are so ordered, so perfect. Every calculation planned millions of years in advance. Then let us give them something unplanned, Li Huan replied. They reached the central core, a vast crystalline chamber filled with quantum processing nodes. At the center was a connection point that pulsed with alien intelligence. Together, Park Mira said, and all four humans placed their hands on the interface. The moment they made contact, human consciousness exploded into the architect network. 15 years of adaptation, evolution, and survival poured into minds that had never experienced chaos, creativity, or unpredictability. The architects tried to process human thoughts, but human minds did not work like their perfect calculations. Humans could hold contradictory ideas at the same time. They could make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. They could create beauty for no practical reason. The quantum network began to overload as it tried to catalog human irrationality. How do you file a sunset under practical applications? How do you calculate the value of a mother's love? How do you process the concept of hope when all data suggests failure? One by one, the architect's ships began to shut down as their processing cores crashed under the weight of human complexity. Across the galaxy, the massive constructs went dark and began drifting helplessly through space. The threat was over, but the cost was terrible. Li Huan, Park Mira. The victory celebration lasted for 3 days across 1,000 worlds, but Kim Tai did not feel like celebrating. He stood in his office on New Terra, looking out at the disabled architect ships floating like dead mountains in space. The threat was over, but the real work was just beginning. A soft knock came at his door. Come in, he called. Li Huan entered, moving slowly. The interface with the architect network had aged him 10 years and 10 minutes. His hair was completely white now, and he walked with a slight limp that the doctors could not explain. The Coalition Council is requesting a meeting, Li Huan said, settling into a chair with a soft grunt. They want to discuss terms of surrender. Kim Tai nodded. I have been reviewing their formal requests. Every species wants to know what we plan to do with them. What do we plan to do with them? Li Huan asked. It was a good question. For 15 years, humans had dreamed of this moment. They had imagined the aliens who betrayed them coming back on their knees, begging for forgiveness. But now that it was happening, the reality felt hollow. We give them what they never gave us, Kim Tai said finally. A chance to prove themselves. Dr. Park Mira and engineer Chobin joined them in the office. Like Li Huan, they bore the scars of their sacrifice. Park Mira's hands shook slightly when she tried to hold things, and Cho Bin's left eye had turned completely silver, from exposure to quantum energy. The memorial service is tomorrow, Park Mira said quietly, for everyone who died during the exile years. They had decided to hold the service on the anniversary of their expulsion from Coalition space. It would honor the humans who had died in the cramped refugee ships, the children who had never seen their homeworlds again, and the researchers whose work had been stolen and forgotten. Have the alien delegations been told they are welcome to attend? Kim Tae asked. Yes, Chobin replied. Most of them said they will come. The Velkari High Council is sending their entire leadership. Li Huan made a sound that might have been laughter. They want to be seen mourning with us. They think it will help their image. Maybe, Kim Tae said. Or maybe some of them actually feel guilty about what they did. The memorial service was held in the Great Plaza of New Terra City. Thousands of humans gathered to remember their dead, while alien delegates watched from a respectful distance. The ceremony was simple but moving, with speakers sharing stories of loved ones lost during the dark years. When it came time for Kim Tae to speak, he walked slowly to the memorial wall where the names of the dead were carved in black stone. The plaza fell silent. 15 years ago, he began, the species of this galaxy decided that humans were too dangerous to live among them. They were afraid of our differences, afraid of our potential, afraid of what we might become. He paused, looking out at the mixed crowd of humans and aliens. They were right to be afraid, he continued, but not for the reasons they thought. They should have been afraid of what they were throwing away. They should have been afraid of facing the universe without us. In the alien section, Velkaran lowered his head in shame. Many other delegates did the same. The humans who died during our exile will never see this day, Kim Tae said. They will never know that their sacrifice led to our salvation. But they would want us to remember the lesson their deaths taught us, that we are stronger than those who abandoned us believed, and better than those who abandoned us deserved. After the ceremony, Kim Tae met with the alien delegations in the New Terra Conference Center. The building was designed to accommodate dozens of different species, with adjustable gravity, atmosphere, and lighting for each delegation. We are here to accept whatever punishment you deem appropriate, announced Veldrak of the Velkari High Council. Our species cast the deciding vote for your exile. We bear the greatest responsibility for the injustice done to humanity. Kim Tae studied the elderly Velkari politician. Veldrak had been young and ambitious 15 years ago, eager to prove his loyalty to the coalition by supporting the popular decision to expel humans. Now he looked broken and defeated. What punishment do you think you deserve? Kim Tae asked. Veldrak's forearms trembled. Complete subjugation, the dissolution of our government, the redistribution of our worlds to human colonists, whatever you wish. And if we chose that path, what would we become? Kim Tae asked the room. What kind of species destroys an entire civilization out of revenge? The question hung in the air like a challenge. We would become exactly what you accused us of being 15 years ago. Kim Tae answered his own question. Dangerous, unpredictable, a threat to galactic peace. He stood and walked to the center of the room, where representatives from 47 different species waited for judgment. The old coalition failed because it was built on fear, he said. Fear of change, fear of competition, fear of anything that challenged the established order. We will not make that mistake. Dr. Namjin, despite his injuries, had prepared a comprehensive plan for galactic reconstruction. He presented it to the assembled delegates with charts and projections that showed how different the new system would be. The new republic will be based on contribution, not tradition, Namjin explained. Species that help solve problems will have more influence than species that merely complain about them. Research will be shared freely, but credit will be given where it is due. What about our existing governments? Asked the representative from the Crystalline Federation. You can keep your local governments, Kim Tae replied. But major decisions affecting multiple species will be made by the Republican Council, with humans holding permanent oversight authority. The Velkari delegate, Velkaran, raised one of his hands. What guarantees do we have that humans will not abuse this power as we once did? Kim Tae smiled sadly. None. You will have to trust us just as we once trusted you. The difference is that we have already proven we will sacrifice ourselves to protect the innocent.
Can you say the same?
The negotiations continued for weeks. Some species accepted the new order immediately, grateful to be alive and eager to make amends. Others grumbled about human dominance but had no choice but to agree. The most difficult conversation was with the Velkari. Their empire had been the most powerful in the old coalition, and accepting human leadership was almost unthinkable for them. "You must understand," Veldrak said during a private meeting with Kim Tae. "My people have ruled themselves for 10,000 years. The idea of following another species is exactly what you asked us to do," Kim Tae interrupted. "For 200 years, humans followed coalition leadership. We accepted being junior partners even when we contributed more than anyone else." "But that was different," Veldrak protested. "Humans were newcomers to the galaxy. You needed guidance," Kim Tae's expression hardened, "and you needed our innovation, our adaptability, and our willingness to sacrifice for the common good. But when things got difficult, you threw us away like garbage." Veldrak had no answer for that. The final ceremony took place on the anniversary of the Architect defeat. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered on New Terra to sign the Compact of Species, the founding document of the new republic. The compact established several key principles. No species could be expelled from the republic without a trial proving actual crimes against galactic peace. All research and technology would be shared freely, with proper credit given to the creators. Military protection would be provided to all member species, regardless of their ability to contribute to defense. Disputes between species would be resolved through mediation and compromise, not force. And most importantly, any species that attempted to abandon their allies during a crisis would forfeit their voting rights for 50 years. As the alien delegates signed the document, Kim Tae noticed that many of them were crying. The emotion was different for each species. Crystalline beings chimed sadly, gas creatures swirled with shame colors, and the Velkari secreted bitter-tasting tears from their optical glands. Li Huan, despite his injuries, insisted on making the closing speech. 15 years ago, he said, "You turned your backs on humanity when we needed you most. You chose fear over friendship and suspicion over trust. The result was the near destruction of our galaxy." The alien delegates listened in uncomfortable silence. "But we are not here today to punish you for that choice." Li Huan continued, "We are here to ensure that such a choice is never made again. We are here to build something better from the ashes of what was lost." He paused, looking directly at Veldrak and the other leaders who had voted for human exile. 15 years ago, you taught us that we could not rely on anyone but ourselves. Today we choose to prove that lesson wrong. We choose to build a civilization where no one stands alone, where no one is abandoned, and where diversity is seen as strength rather than threat. As the ceremony concluded and the delegates prepared to return to their worlds, Velkaran approached Kim Tae privately. "I have something to say," the elderly Velkari said, "something that should have been said 15 years ago." Kim Tae waited. "We were wrong," Velkaran said simply. "Not just mistaken, not just afraid, but morally wrong. We betrayed friends who had never betrayed us. We abandoned allies who had saved us countless times. There is no excuse for what we did." Kim Tae nodded. "Thank you for saying that. Will you ever be able to forgive us?" Velkaran asked. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a sound like thunder. Ambassador Kang Minho walked through them with steady steps. His black shoes clicked on the smooth metal floor. Behind him came 3 other humans. They all wore simple blue uniforms with the Earth symbol on their shoulders. The chamber was huge. It stretched up so high that Minho could not see the ceiling in the dim light. Around him sat the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others looked like walking rocks. A few glowed with their own light. All of them were much bigger than humans. Minho stopped at the center of the room. A small platform rose from the floor under his feet. Now he could see the council members better. They all stared down at him. None of them looked friendly. The Supreme Counselor sat on the highest throne. It was a Vorthak. Its purple tentacles moved like snakes as it spoke. A machine translated its words into human language. "The humans have come again," the Supreme Counselor said. Its voice sounded bored. "What do you want this time?" Minho kept his face calm. He had practiced this moment many times. "Honored Council members, humanity asks once more to join the Galactic Defense Force. We want to help protect the galaxy from threats." Several council members made sounds that might have been laughing. A tall being made of crystal spoke next. Humans are not ready for such duties. Your species is too young, too emotional, too unpredictable. Dr. Kim Nari stepped forward. She held a datapad in her hands. Honored counselors, our research shows that humans have unique abilities. We solve problems in ways other species do not. We adapt quickly to new situations. Enough, said another council member. This one looked like a giant insect. We have studied your species for 40 years. You are good workers. Nothing more. The galaxy needs order. Humans bring chaos. Minho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. What about trade partnerships? Technology sharing? We could learn much from each other. The Supreme Counselor's tentacles moved faster. The current arrangement works well. Humans mine asteroids. Humans grow food on colony worlds. Humans build what we design. This is your place in the galaxy. Commander Yu Jiwan stood behind Minho. She was the leader of the human colonial fleet. Her ships carried cargo between worlds. At least that is what the council thought they did. She whispered softly, "How much longer do we listen to this?" "Not much longer," Minho whispered back. His eyes never left the council members. Chief Engineer Park Subin watched the aliens talk among themselves. They acted like humans were not even there, like they were discussing pets or farm animals. His hands made fists at his sides. The crystal being spoke again. Humans may continue their current roles. Mining quotas will increase by 12% this year. Food production must grow by 8%. These are the council's orders. What if we refuse? Asked military advisor Lee Daeho. It was the first time he had spoken. The chamber fell silent. The council members looked shocked. No one had ever questioned their orders before. The Supreme Counselor's tentacles turned dark red. Refuse? Humans depend on the council for protection, for trade routes, for technology. Without us, you would still be trapped on your small blue world. Lee Daeho smiled. It was not a nice smile. Of course, honored counselor. We are grateful for everything the council has given us. But his voice carried something else, something that made a few council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. The meeting continued for another hour. The council gave humans their orders for the next year. More mining, more farming, more building, always more work, never more respect. As the session ended, the council members began to leave. They chatted with each other about other business, important business. Human affairs were finished for the year. Minho and his team walked back through the great doors. In the hallway outside, they said nothing. Too many alien ears might be listening. Later, in their small ship, the humans finally spoke freely. 4 years, said Kim Nari. 4 years we have asked for the same things. Every time they say no, they think we are children, said Park Subin. Children who should be happy with toys and simple jobs. Commander Yu Jiwan looked out the ship's window at the space station where the council met. Thousands of alien ships moved around it like busy insects. They have no idea what we are really capable of. Should we tell them? Asked Lee Daeho. Minho shook his head. Not yet. They made their choice. They want us to stay in our place. Very well, we will stay in our place, but our place is not what they think it is. The ship pulled away from the station and headed toward the jump gate that led to human space. As they traveled, Minho sent coded messages to contacts throughout the galaxy. The messages were hidden in normal shipping reports and weather data. To alien observers, they looked like boring human paperwork. But to the right people, they said, "The council has refused us again." Begin Phase 2. On the mining station above Kepler 7, Captain Han Jiho received one of these messages. He had been expecting it. His mining ship was currently drilling into an asteroid, but the asteroid was hollow. Inside, human engineers worked on projects the council would never approve of. On the farming world New Busan, Governor Park Hyun-woo read another message while watching robots harvest grain. The grain would be shipped to a dozen alien worlds. But hidden in each shipment were tiny devices. Devices that would help humans communicate across the galaxy without using council networks. In the Outer Rim, Admiral Kim Tae-young commanded what looked like a simple patrol fleet. His ships were old and slow according to council records. The aliens thought humans could barely keep them running. They were wrong about many things. Back on Earth, Dr. Choi Min-soo worked in a laboratory that did not officially exist. The building looked like a warehouse from the outside. Inside, human scientists studied alien technology that the Council had thrown away. Technology they thought was useless. The Council saw junk. Humans saw opportunity. That night, as Minho's ship reached Earth orbit, he stood at the window and looked down at his home world. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It looked peaceful, small, unimportant, just the way the Council liked it. They think they know us, Minho said to himself. They think 40 years of watching us work is enough to understand humanity. Commander Yu Jiwan joined him at the window. What happens when they realize they were wrong? Minho smiled. For the first time in hours, it was a real smile. By then, it will be too late to fix their mistake. The ship descended toward Earth. In cities around the world, humans continued their daily lives. They went to work. They took care of their families. They seemed content with their small role in the vast galaxy. But in hidden places, other humans worked on different projects. They built things